Another reason why men have higher numbers is that they tend to not look for help. Men tend to bottle things up and they don't want to seem weak, whereas women are more open, we're more community based, we're more apt to call a friend or a colleague or even go to professional help. Yeah. And that's something that has to change.
Men in general have a suicide rate 3 to 4 times as high as women. And those numbers only tell half the story.
Yeah, the largest population of America who commit suicide are men over the age of 55. And that number at age 75 is even higher.
We all know someone who's taken this path, including famous men like Robin Williams and Anthony Bourdain.
This is a serious and sad topic that needs more attention. And with some intervention, we can reduce these numbers. Please stay till the end where we share some ideas and some trends that might help.
I remember when I was about 35 years old and I was working in Bronxville, New York, and I belonged to a local golf club there. It was right near my business, so I was able to take clients there for business during the week and on weekends with my buddies, and we'd always, end up having lunch in what they called the grill room. But there was a guy that was always at the bar on the end, all by himself. Every day the club was open, he was there having lunch by himself with a nice glass of red wine and a book. And he just sat there and read his book and ate lunch. He wasn't bothering anybody at all. And he would say hello. I don't even remember his name, but I remember him there, and we always say, oh, there's that guy again, or Joe, whatever his name was. But one day he was gone. He just wasn't there. And I think a week went by, and I said to one of my buddies, hey, where's Joe? Very sad story. He killed himself in his home office, left behind a wife and 3 kids. And it really affected me in a way that I really, I didn't know him, but it made me wonder, it's making me wonder now that we're talking about this, is there more that I could have done perhaps? But this is a real problem that we wanted to bring up and talk about.
And it's interesting. Yesterday, this topic came up because we saw an article in the Wall Street Journal. New help for a group at risk for suicide, middle-aged men, by Andrea Peterson. It caught our eye, and we're going to link it below for you because we think it would be important for you to read as well.
Yeah, it's a very good article that we're going to share with you some of what we found out. And because the holidays are here upon us, it doesn't really matter when, but you might know someone who's lonely. I mean, look at the guy at my club 30 years ago. I really wonder if my buddies and I could have brought him in. He was older than us, but I just think we all know somebody, and maybe if we really put some thought into it, we can help somebody.
I think it's a reality check for all of us. I mean, I can think of a few men in my life that fit that age group. Even my pop. We lost my mom almost 6 years ago, and he's been living alone for all this time. Now, listen, he's got a network of friends, and he plays golf, and he's, got the kids and grandkids checking on him. But is it enough?
He's home alone every single night.
I know. So if we all kind of unflap that consciousness in our head, I bet there's people we could reach out to.
So let's share with you some of the things that we uncovered in the article. First of all, one of the reasons why men's numbers are so much higher than women, 3 to 4 times as much, is unfortunately men choose more lethal means when they attempt suicide, like using firearms. And it's sad to say, but when men attempt suicide, they're a lot more successful than anyone else. That's why they're the largest population in America that commit suicide. As my dad aged and became depressed and he drank a lot, my brother and I decided we were going to take all the guns out of the house.
Right.
Now, he was a Marine and he loved his guns, his rifles, his pistols, and all of that. But he hadn't shot them in years. But we were concerned, so we just removed them. And I think at the end he didn't even know they were gone. But we had to remove them.
Another reason why men have higher numbers is that they tend to not look for help. Men tend to bottle things up and they don't want to seem weak, whereas women are more open, we're more community based, we're more apt to call a friend or a colleague or even go to professional help. Yeah. And that's something that has to change.
I'm writing a book, and I know I've talked about this before, for men. And some of the chapters are on things like vulnerability that men just are not good at. They're not good at sharing what's going on because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be questioned. We don't want to have that look from our wife like, oh my God, really? No, so we tend not. That's why we hold it in. So, like Jody said, we really need to change that. It's not good at all.
It's also sometimes harder to notice when a man in your life may be suicidal, right?
Well, it's true because we in this article there was a psychologist in there that stated that men's depression can come across as anger or being irritable rather than worry or sadness. So if your husband or a friend of yours is just angry or irritable, you think that that's okay.
Right.
But it could be hiding worry and sadness and depression. So it is hard to detect.
Also, that anger and irritability pushes people away,
It
right?
does.
It doesn't bring them in to help. You know, if we think hard, we might be able to think about men in our lives who are at risk, especially now during this time of year where loneliness is a serious problem, especially for men.
It is. And we talk about loneliness a lot. And chronic loneliness, when you're lonely for 2 weeks or more, is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's how bad it is for your health. The other thing that they in the article talked about men don't do as well as women with aging health problems, right? So as we age men and we all of a sudden now can't jump as high or run as far or whatever it might be, or we experience physical pain or the loss of friends. As we get older, our friends will start to die as well. And that hits men really hard.
Yeah, your dad struggled with that. I remember going to visit him, and he always had his list of friends, and then he'd have ones crossed off that had passed away. And it was a very, very sad and very hard time for him.
My dad, during his peak career, when we worked together for 35 years, he always talked about having 5 really good friends. If you have 5 good friends, then you're wealthy. But as he got older and these 5 friends started to pass away, like you said, he really struggled with that. I'd go to see him and he'd say, now it's only Uncle John and me. We lost Fred last week. He really had a tough time with that.
He really did. And loneliness and isolation are risk factors that we all must be aware of for this population of men. Another reason the numbers are higher is men also are more likely to medicate themselves with alcohol and or drugs.
I know.
More so than women.
I know I talk about my dad a lot, but it just made me think again that, he had his list. He was a heavy drinker. And he was, in a way, I believe he committed suicide because he drank himself to death. And it's not something I want for us or for any of you. So if any of you are drinking a little bit too much, you really want to pay attention to this and really get some help.
So let's flip the conversation a little and talk about ways in which all of us can help and what some doctors and psychologists are now doing and testing on to move the needle on this long-running health crisis.
So first of all, one of the things they suggest is men can join men's groups. It's a popular way to help. These groups provide camaraderie and they help build resiliency in men. And I agree with it 100%. I actually started a men's group in Florida last year, and we're down there next week, and we're going to start it up again, and I can't wait. And what I'm going to do is actually talk about this topic of suicide before anything else that we talk about, because I think it's that important. And I don't know these men that well.
No, that's true.
But I want to bring it up so that they have a safe place to talk about it.
Right, and provide that camaraderie, which I think is really important. The article went on to say that another big struggle that men are having right now, and if you think about, the baby boomers and the, late Gen Xers, retirement and the transition into retirement is a big struggle for these people.
It actually says it's the biggest struggle for men right now.
And, that has become really the cornerstone of this business because people struggle in this transition where they lose their identity, they lose their community, everything about it seems to be loss. Until we get them to flip the mindset and everything about it is gain. It really is.
Well, like you said, there's certain risks with retiring and making the transition. And it's hard because you lose your identity,
Right.
you lose your community, and you don't know how to fill the 40 plus hours of free time that come your way.
Right.
But we've had so much success working with men and women using our 5 pillars. We work on relationships. We help them with their spouse-partner relationship, which is always stressful for men when they retire. Not all men.
Right.
But for many men, when all of a sudden now they're spending 24 hours a day with their partner when it used to be just weekends and nights, that's stressful.
Yeah, and the other pillars that are important is, your mental readiness and well-being for retirement, your physical wellness, and of course this idea of sharing all of that wisdom you have.
know.
And by pulling these pillars together, and helping people through this transition, we've been able to uncover some really satisfying results.
The article talks about some new ways some psychologists and some groups are helping men, and we actually do this in our course. But they suggest exercises such as reflecting on the positive impact that they've made on others during their careers, their business accomplishments. So really just spending time reflecting back on all the goodness that that men, that you, have done for the last 40 years and celebrate that.
Absolutely. And after you celebrate the reflection, take it one step forward and look forward to see how these men can really, and how these individuals in your life can really help continuing to contribute to their family and their community.
Right. I love that. There was another idea a psychologist came up with, who works with men who are depressed, is help them build what he called hope kits. And this is, it could be an album, it could be a box, whatever it might be, but it's reminder of reasons to live, like such as photos of loved ones.
Or maybe love letters.
Love letters, yeah, just anything.
All those cards I always get you to try to save, all my Valentine's cards.
I have them.
Oh, you do?
I have every single one.
Aww.
Maybe not. But I think that, that's another kind of cool way to put together something so that there's hope.
Yeah, a hope kit. That's a great idea. Another study uses videos to show men how to talk to their doctors. Actually, tell them about the language they need to use to talk to their doctors when they're going forward to try to get help and to take charge of their life. And I think that's really important. A lot of people don't know how to start the conversation, even with a medical professional.
Well, what I love about this idea is these videos show men how to reframe getting help as not a sign of weakness, but as a way of taking charge.
Right.
I'm in charge of my health. I'm in charge of my mental wellness. I don't like the way I feel. And it gives you the power to talk to doctors with you in charge, which is what a lot of men like to be, is in charge.
Yeah. And I'll leave a note to say, if anyone watching this video feels they need help, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is 988. It's a serious problem, and we will continue to dig deeper to talk about it. Let's commit to think of all the men in our lives that may be at risk, and let's just all reach out.
Now check out this next video, Prioritizing Your Mental Health and Wellness in Retirement. We dig deep into overall mental wellness, and we show you a way how to build a vision for this, and then how to use some habits and routines to make the vision possible. So click the link.